Heyo, my name is Mini Shadow, and welcome to day 2. We have a fantastic start with me forgetting to click the record button. I'm not sure what all I missed, but I did a bunch of combat, bringing me to 20 and the rest of the main quest in Hope Forest. Sad times. However, an orange hammerfish dropped, which turned me into quite the wrecking machine for my combat bracket. Happy times. Also, funny story, I misread the quest requirements and thought I needed 60 combat to progress to the next episode. Turns out, I just needed 60 total level for the episode. Oops. Turns out I'm a goose on the loose and I have no idea what I'm even doing. This right here doesn't mean combat level 60. This means just a total level of 60 in Hope Forest, which we're 8 away. I thought I had to bring this to level 60. I'm crazy. After finding out that 60 combat is no longer required, I moved my attention to raising my lower levels to progress the main quest. Doing a mix of chopping my own wood and buying from the vendor to reach level 10 carpenter and 9 woodcutting. The sounds for this game are so satisfying. I also managed to reach 25 fishing using the knowledge points, which was a quest requirement for episode 1. This brought me to the 2 level requirements to progress the main story. So I set off to the entrance and entered the mines of Mantoban. Upon entering the mines, I was immediately greeted by an NPC called Petunia Honest. Going through their chat options, I learned that the crew of guards have indeed passed this way, and that these group of people are here to gather ore because nobody else is willing to. Progressing into the next room, there was a pickaxe embedded into a rock. I learned that the crew went southeast. After poking my head into the corridor, I decided to explore the other areas first, peeking my head into the southwest and west paths before proceeding north. This direction led me to where all the minecart tracks were coming from, and Molly Sly was nice enough to teach me how to use them. Heading further north, I encountered the level 0 enemies of this area, so I immediately got to work on some combat levels. Another orange weapon dropped. This time a two-hander. This sped up the kills by quite a lot. One tile west was that locked door leading to Hope Forest that we seen in episode 1. Back at the main chamber, I took the southeast path this time. I was very curious where this path would lead, since it was almost in the same direction as the crew went. And now I can see why. There's a river dividing the area. Following the path, I encountered the level 2 enemy located in the goblin area, as well as a very mellow chef. If life gives you lemons, eat 'em. And the end of the pathway. I'll need to get on the other side of this river to continue exploring. The water was also starting to turn purple. Interesting. Heading back to the central chamber, there is only one way left to go, southwest towards the crew. We come across the river again. Quite the change in color from what we just seen. We also see Jangles, who was kind enough to tell us that the crew headed south. Continuing south, we encountered some gas leeches in the Bone Right room. A glowing stalagmite was taunting me with its 14 mining requirement. I'm assuming this is used for a quest later. The southwest path did in fact lead me to the other side of the river, allowing me to follow it further. Stumbled into the Grachnid's room, which seemed to be guarding some cave moss, similar to the two-headed Big Mama Boss Bear. The obelisk for this area is fully functional, just like that in Hope Forest. And we successfully made it to the other side of the river. However, the next tile was in fact another dead end for now. Returning to the floor tentacle room, we can proceed further south. However, I learned from this player that you can simply avoid these floor tentacles by staying 2 tiles away from them. I wish I would have known this sooner, as I'll look at this as a blessing in disguise, as I can now clear the inventory and test out the new unlocked entrance into the mines. East of the floor tentacle room is the Lost and Found, which is a side quest for this area, and this weird looking area, probably used for the quest we just picked up. Right beside that, to the west, is the Friendly Goblin Workshop. I was given a goblin whistle, which will call someone to the dead end with the ladder we were at earlier. This area also houses the blacksmithing and stonemason training areas, as well as the portal room. Let's go, we got our portal! I could see my future self spending a lot of time in this room, honing my stonemason skills. There's also this Cave of the Future, which requires 26 Bonerite in order to use. With the exploring done, the first thing I wanted to do after was progress the main quest. This required 14 mining in order to gather from that stalagmite. Funny enough, the ore I was gathering led me directly to where the next quest step was. I see you, Mr. Gower. Blowing the whistle summoned Skalek to the ledge, where he asks us to do him a little favor. This little favor involved chasing a butterfly to a shiny gem. Luckily enough, thinking about following something made me think about minecarts following tracks. I headed on over to the central mine area, and sure enough, the butterfly was there. If this was another intentional design choice, again, I see you, Mr. Gower. Heading back to Skalek, we can see another player do some shenanigans up the ladder, while Skalek strains himself oh so hard to lower it for us. Continuing on, the color of the river was starting to change more and more. There was some scared goblins locked behind a big door, but with a few sentences I was able to convince them to open the door, and they give us a key. That was easy. Quick convince. There's an even bigger locked door just further in, probably another quest location. And the locked door for our key, which leads us to the corrupted stone, surrounded by the crew we've been searching for. I immediately ran away, as I was not high enough level to fight these corrupted guards. After gaining some levels and gear, it was time to take on the entire crew, and one by one they fell. Calling the druid, they tell us to gather 4 items to cleanse the crystal. Similar to the quest in Hope Forest I failed to record. First things first, I've been informed of this locked door twice now, and it may be the location of the first item I need. Clicking on the door leads to a conversation with Gretel Torelli, who was kind enough to tell us the story on how the crystal got here, and gave us our first item to cleanse it. Oh, we just get it? Oh, that's the first piece! This is also the location of the Dwarven Forge and Silver Ore. Just to the west of the forge is our second cleansing item. Convenient. It was finally time to gather that glowing stalagmite, so I tried out the minecarts for 14 mining, pretty freaking neat, and item obtained. The last item was being guarded by this sleeping creature, and I assumed that we would be having a combat encounter here, but I was pleasantly surprised. After clearing the maze puzzle, the final item was obtained, which means I could return to the crystal and apply all 4 cleansing items. With the crystal taken care of, it was time to go give Captain DeGreen the good and bad news. We were informed to go talk to Lord Branoff, which led us to collecting a horn that the goblins had stolen. After retrieving the horn and returning, Captain DeGreen sends us off to the Cyclops Pass in hopes that they'll let us pass to Necropolis so we can continue our search for knowledge. The Cyclops guard told me that they're very wary of strangers, and that we might spook the unicorns. He also informed me that we could gain their trust by obtaining some gnomic silver. Off to the mines we go, using the handy shortcut leading us back to Gretel Torelli, who had mentioned silver in the next room to her. Upon talking to her, she did agree to let us gather some, but we would need to reach some stat requirements first. 20 combat, 65 total level in the Mines of Mantuban, and 252 total level overall. We have a bit of a grind ahead of us, so let's get started. During my questing, I had learned that the Spider's Nest quest unlocked the spell that allowed you to interact with these strange coins around, letting you deposit some resources. This raised to the top of my priority list, so I set out to gather some logs, hitting 15 woodcutting, and chopped them until 20 carpenter. This unlocked the AFK options, which I was happy with for now. Moving on to the weapon crafting skills, bringing each up to level 15, then finishing off with 20 mining and 15 combat due to a pesky misclick and floor tentacle combo. And there's level 20 mining as well. That's the last requirement we need to enter the final area. But it's pretty late, so it's time for bed for me. And that finishes off my day 2 of Brighter Shores. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy the content, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one. Take care.